causing damage to public property, and that is the charge, causing damage to public property.
And also, the information we had earlier was that the residence wasn't occupied at the time of the incident. But do we know whether there were other properties in there that got damaged because of the fire?
Well, so the MC for the area was preparing to occupy the residence somewhere this week. So they had earlier sent things like furniture and also some kitchenware. So and also some beds and other things. So those were the things that were affected and destroyed as we speak. So for now, like I said, the suspects are in the custody of the police.
Indeed, but what can you tell us about the reaction of the DC? It must be a traumatizing experience for him.
Well, exactly. In fact, it's a female, Patricia. She says she will not allow this to deter her from doing her work. She will still be coming, but for now, she is also waiting for the outcome of the investigation from the fire service and police. The assurance given to her by the police is that whoever has a hand in this incident will be arrested and be made to face the law. So as we speak, she's at the office working and says she will not allow this to deter her from doing her duties.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Ibrahim Abubakar. He's Ashanti Regional Correspondent. Let's hear Patricia Pearl-Ankra, the Afija Kwabre South MC, talking earlier, exactly what she said.
I believe that the police are doing their investigation and they'll come up with good results. Even as at the time of the incident, the police were able to arrest 2 suspects. I learned they will be sent to court today and they are also doing their investigation. So anybody who is involved in this will be apprehended.
Well, she didn't just speak alone. Also, the Afija Kwabre South MP, Damata Ama Salam, also spoke about what happened.
It's rather unfortunate at this time our MC needs her resident to move in and work for the district that this thing has happened. But we say we thank God no human life was lost, but just that properties have been damaged. So I would just urge the constituent to remain calm. Police investigations are underway. But let me use this opportunity to also recommend the swift response from the fire service, the police and the NADMO.
And you heard right there the Member of Parliament for Afija Kwabre South, Damata Ama Salam. Some 8 minutes past the hour of 12 now. Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, has called for an immediate end to the war between Iran and Israel, urging both sides to return to diplomatic dialogue. Addressing an Emergency Security Council meeting, the Secretary General emphasized that peace in the Middle East cannot be imposed, but must be embraced through mutual commitment and dialogue. Stanley Nibleo monitored the proceedings from Geneva and now reports.
The Emergency UN Security Council meeting was convened by Guyana's permanent representative to the United Nations, Ambassador Caroline Rodriguez Beckett, who currently serves as president of the Council for the month of June.
The provisional agenda for this meeting is threats to international peace and security. The agenda is adopted. In accordance with Rule 37 of the Council's Provisional Rules of Procedure, I invite the representatives of Iraq, the Islamic Republic of Iran, Israel, and Kuwait to participate in this meeting. It is so decided.
The Sunday evening meeting was triggered by the attack of 3 major Iranian nuclear sites by the United States, in what it described as a necessary action to prevent Iran from advancing its nuclear ambitions, a move Israel had long argued posed a direct threat to the regional peace and stability. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres expressed deep regret that earlier efforts to de-escalate tensions and prevent war had been ignored.
2 days ago, in this very chamber, I made a direct appeal: give peace a chance. That call was not heeded. Instead, the bombing of Iranian nuclear facilities by the United States marks a perilous turn in a region that is already reeling. From the outset of the crisis, I have repeatedly condemned any military escalation in the Middle East. The people of the region cannot endure another cycle of destruction. We must act immediately and decisively to halt the fighting and return to serious, sustained negotiations on the Iran nuclear program.
The Assistant Secretary General for Europe, Asia and Americas stressed that dialogue must be prioritized over continued violence.
The Middle East cannot afford yet another violent conflict where civilians pay the price of military confrontations. And the world will also not be spared from the ramifications of this dangerous conflict. There is no military solution to this conflict. We need diplomacy, de-escalation, and confidence building now.
Both the Iranian and Israeli ambassadors to the UN each defended their respective positions.
This was not a war of choice. This action was a necessity. It was a righteous act for the United States, for Israel, for the Middle East, and for the world.
Stanley Blair filed that report. Meanwhile, security consultant Colonel Festus Abuaje, retired, has warned of catastrophic global fallout if tensions between Iran, Israel and the United States escalate into direct conflict. Let's stay a bit longer on this, because beyond the geopolitical ramifications is a conversation to have on the impact this would have on global oil prices. Chief Executive of the National Petroleum Authority, Beatrice Adu, says pump prices of fuel will not be heavily impacted by the ongoing war between Iran and Israel. Now, global crude prices have crossed $80 per barrel as Iran threatens to close the Strait of Hormuz, a critical canal point which ferries 20% of the world's fuel products. But as concerns of the impact of the war on pump prices in Ghana heighten, Beatrice Adu says enough reserves are available to lessen the impact on Ghanaian pockets.
There have been even calls that we introduce what you call a restocking of our strategic reserve. There has also been a conversation as to what exactly should be the mandate of BOST. Now, because some of these things particularly relate to the work being performed by colleague CEOs, I wouldn't want to veer so much into that space. What I am encouraged is that as we speak, everything that we need to do to keep a certain level of stock in order to ensure that we do not have panic purchases at our pumps, we are doing that. What we are also looking at, and like the president himself pointed out, is the fact that we are basically observing totally what is happening within the Gulf region to see the impact on crude prices, among other things.
And you had the CEO of the National Petroleum Authority, Beatrice Adu, the Executive Director of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC, Duncan Amwa, also says the situation threatens the gains the government has made in the energy sector.
The escalations across the globe currently will not all be bad for Ghana. Don't forget, Ghana is also a petroleum exporting nation. And so anytime you have prices move from the 60s to the 70s, and this morning the expectation is that it will cross the 80 mark. What it means is that Ghana could also rake in a little more from petroleum exports. That's one positive fallout that Ghana should get. To the negatives, however, because you import a lot more by way of finished products using the dollar. Anytime there's a surge in price, it means that your import bill or importation cover would go up necessarily. Again, you would also have a situation where gains that have been substantially made by the current government would be threatened, because you don't want to see fuel prices go back to the 15 region from where the government inherited it. But this single act could say it pushed to that region in no time. That calls for a need to re-strategize. You cannot continue to have a situation where You import to consume. There's no strategy. You only have the BDCs bring in. We put some across the pump, some at the depots.
And you heard that Duncan Amoa, he's the Executive Director, Chamber of Petroleum Consumers. Some 15 minutes past the hour of 12. This is still the midday news on 3FM 92.7. When we come back, we'll tell you some more about the 2022 batch of colleges of education teachers picketing the Ghana Education Service and have a conversation on the back of it. Stay with us.
Hello, Ghana. It's a new year and Bill's Microcredit is here to support your dreams. If you're not working but want to start a business, don't let money stop you. With just your Ghana card, you can get a loan to turn your ideas into reality. Already running a business? Need more capital? Or are you a salary worker looking for extra funds? Bill's offers fast and easy loans with no collateral, no deposit, and no SUSI savings required. Wherever you are, whatever you need, Bills makes it happen. Call Bills Microcredit today. Call 0596 920 833 or 0302 200 390 and get started. Bills is licensed and regulated by the Bank of Ghana. Bills, financing your needs. Terms and conditions apply.
Freezer, get the abba. Adama for the abba, a freezer. Adama, a Quaquasamansia. Adama, Metamosua, my sorry. Canino, Obo Moasia. I do for the Nobium Unum and San last night. I don't know what we did. Adama for Adama, who said, yet the Drubacope, a ship will be a high technology. I go for freezer. When Kwan, and once open your 15 letters. No fugum, what's ya, no fugum. What the boss here? If we be any of us, you have what to say, over Timono. Then we sure say, woman shown task here. Then what's enough for now? No, freezer, power up a day. Freezer, Dacia, a person does so among Ammoniaji. To me, me was sick, to me, but you may never be some doom. Adama, with that Adama, no, Adama, you can't resist.
Ubenya Adama West Africa for a dream, or baby bear a tongue cry who had you. I say, Kayone Kinkai in Chaya, a dream.
12:18 here on the midday news on 3FM 92.7 now. Some members of the 2022 batch of the Colleges of Education teachers have picketed the Ghana Education Service, following 10 months of unpaid salaries after posting. Judith Brown is my colleague, and she's been engaging the aggrieved teachers. She joins us live on the phone. Judith, what's the latest?
Right, and so Beatrice, basically their grievances are based on two things. Some of them say that they have not received their ID cards ever since they were posted all the way in August 2024. And so without ID cards, of course, they cannot be termed as employed. But yet still, they've been working for the past 10 months with no ID card and no salary. Some of them also say that they have received their IDs, yet they do not have any salaries ever since they started working. So 10 months with IDs and still no salary. And then they also say that they received their IDs, and after a few months they realized that their names were completely missing from the system. And so they've still not been receiving any salaries. They hold ID cards, and yet their names are not in the system. And so these are the grievances they brought. They came here to the Ghana Education Service, where they were called earlier into what they termed as a closed-door meeting, but they insisted that without the media, they're not going to engage them. And so it was a whole back and forth. They were there for quite a while, about 30 minutes, arguing with the authorities of the GES, and eventually that meeting never happened. They came downstairs, and police were deployed right here to man the place, because apparently the people here or the workers here are not safe because of their presence. And so they came here and they were manning the place. They came downstairs, and then the Deputy Director General decided to come down and meet with them. Now, during the conversation, she said that all they can do now is for them to bring a formal letter with all their grievances so that they can be addressed going forward, and that they're doing all in their power to address their grievances, as well as other grievances from other sections of teachers. And so that was what she said, but they were not having any of that. In fact, immediately after she said that,
She walked away and they were very unhappy. They believe she did not even speak to them well. And so they started to chant, they started to shout. In fact, they were very, very much angry. And the police had to barricade the place, preventing them from walking towards her. And they were really angry, chanting and wondering why she would address them that way. They have been here ever since. And they're saying that they're going to sleep here. They're not going to move until the GS addresses their concern. Some of them are here with mosquito nets. They were seated on the ground, chanting and shouting at the top of their voices and asking them to address their grievances, or else they're going to be here through till the night. So, Beatrice, that's what's been happening here at the Ghana Education Center.
Quite an intense scene that happened earlier, but can you tell us, have they calmed down? Of course, you've told us now that they're going to stay there till perhaps tomorrow, but have they calmed down? How's the situation? I can still hear some noise in the background.
I'm saying that some still say they're going to stay here. They're still here. They're a bit calm. The police has released that barricade. They're still around, though. The police is still around, but they're not barricading the place anymore. The people have calmed down, but they're still here. We're yet to really know whether they're going to stay throughout the night, as they said, but they're still here in their numbers, and they're expecting their grievances to be addressed right here and right now. They want their IDs given to them right here and right now, and that's what they're asking for, basically.
Indeed. Thank you so much. Excellent. Judith Brown, she's a woman following the teachers who are picketing the Ghana Education Service as we speak. Let's have a quick chat with Simon Kofi Nate. He's one of the conveners for the aggrieved teachers. He joins us live on the phone as well. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good afternoon.
I don't know whether you heard my colleague earlier talking about some of your demands, ID cards, and the fact that some of you have not been paid. Beyond these, are you able to tell us specifically what you're asking for, the reason your members are currently at the Education Service picketing?
Thank you very much, and then the opportunity. So as your reporter rightly said, this afternoon we are here demanding for just two things: the release of our staff IDs, and then those who have staff IDs for months now without their salary.
Yes, and per the report we received, the officials at the Education Service have asked your members to catalogue all these concerns in an official document, as it were, and bring it. Is that something your members are...
That was just an unfortunate statement made by the officer. For her to have said that an issue that has been lingering on for 10 months now, she had no idea, and even the category of teachers here today, she's not aware, and that we should go back and put everything on paper before presenting it to her is an unfortunate thing she has said.
So you're not willing to do that?
We are not leaving. In fact, we are not leaving.
Yes, that we heard that earlier, that you're not willing to leave the premises. But in terms of putting it on the official document, just so you can start some sort of conversation around that, are you saying because the issue has lingered on, you're not going to honor that request, as it were?
If she's new to the system, she should rather find out from the old staff, and then they will give her briefings on everything. Because this is not the first time we are coming here. Personally, I've been here. This is the fourth time. My fourth time being here, and today we are here in our numbers, and every day, every time when we come, they keep telling us the same story. And so if you say that she had no idea about what is happening, then that's rather unfortunate.
What happens if within 24 hours your demands are still not met? Are you going to stay outside there?
So I wish this was a video call. You would have seen my mosquito nets and then my bed sheets. In fact, today we are sleeping here. We can't work for 10 solid months without a staff ID, something that will guarantee, something that shows that indeed you are a teacher, you work for the GES, and you don't have it. It's just like you going to cover a match in the stadium without accreditation. What shows that you're a journalist?
We'll have to end it here with you. Thank you very much for speaking to us. And you heard Simon Kofi Nate. He's one of the conveners for the aggrieved teachers who are currently picketing the Education Service. And I'm sure you heard him there. They are not moving until their demands are met. Now, the National Democratic Congress says the Electoral Commission's attempt to rely on scanned copies of pink sheets provided by the opposition New Patriotic Party raises credibility issues. The NDC EC want a rerun of the elections in 36 polling stations. On June 19, the Electoral Commission ruled out a rerun of the 2024 parliamentary election in the Ablekuma North constituency in the Greater Accra region. The EC said that the result from 3 outstanding polling stations can still be collated. Deputy Chairperson of the EC in charge of corporate affairs, Dr. Bosman Asare, earlier clarified in Parliament that a rerun remains a last resort. Well, speaking on TV3's New Day earlier today, however, the NDC Director of Legal Affairs, Godwin Eduji Tamaklo, said he's surprised by the new proposals by the Electoral Commission.
Under the circumstance, we were initially pushing for a rerun in the 62 police stations where they are contention. Then Madame Jane Mensah said, okay, since they have accepted our 54 carbonated copies, in fairness, we should accept the MPP's 25 carbonated copies. I said, no. I mean, for the sake of fairness, why not? Now, it will be left with 37. The MPP presented scanned copies of those 37. Then we said, no, we can't accept scanned copies because per the CI governing the election, you are not supposed to use scanned copies. Then they said, oh, they are pulling, presiding officers have validated those scanned copies. We said, no. On live television, including TV3, the presiding officers came and some said, I didn't know who signed this. And so we said already it raises credibility about those scanned copies.
And you have Eduji Tamaklo. He is the Director of Legal for the governing new National Democratic Congress. Meanwhile, political strategist Dr. Bernard Tutubohin says he sees nothing wrong with the proposals from the Electoral Commission to collate only 3 polling stations' results.
I wouldn't say that it is unfortunate regarding the position of Dr. Bosman, that rerun is impossible. What is impossible under the sun? The explanation he gave is that from where we have come to where we are now, several attempts, to continue with the collation exercise have not materialized. Again, High Court rulings, have also not been implemented. And we still insist that, okay, let's go on to, let's continue with the process with regards to just 3 polling stations. That's fine. See, from where I sit, what he is trying to explain is that probably when we don't continue, to bring the 3 polling station results, right, maybe another kind of precedent will be set.
And you heard that Dr. Bernard Tutubohin, he's a political and communications marketing strategist. Now, the Cape Coast Metropolitan Assembly says it has initiated a comprehensive engagement with families and owners of dilapidated buildings in the metropolis to get them pulled down. The Mayor, George Justice Arthur, says the CCMA is bent on ensuring that proper measures are taken to execute the planned demolitions to avert any disasters. So far, 1 other building has been demolished, while a 3rd one, a 3-story building, is currently being pulled down. Let's speak to Thomas Khan. He's our man following this. Thomas, what more can you tell us?
So, Beatrice, what I can tell you is that a 3rd building is almost, they are done with almost demolishing it. You should see this magnificent building, an ancient building that can have about 30 rooms. All of that is being pulled down. According to the Assembly, this building has been a death trap. It was declared a death trap for over 10 years. So residents around have been very worried and were waiting on authorities to pull this down. But finally, after a 30-day disaster, this building is finally being pulled down.
It's unfortunate, forgive me, Thomas, it's unfortunate that the building is being pulled down after a disaster which claimed 2 lives. Has the Assembly been explaining why they waited 10 years?
Exactly. The Assembly said that they were having difficulty, especially with some families, when they made attempts to pull some of these structures down. But now that this disaster has happened, other families are now agreeing that their buildings will be pulled down.
I'm sorry, Thomas Khan. We'll have to end it here because of time. Log on to streetnews.com for more news. We'll continue on this in our subsequent bulletins. My name is Beatrice Adu. Coming up shortly is Business Daily with Bismarck Wusa. Log on to streetnews.com for more news. Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Business Daily on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Wusa. Coming up this afternoon, UK-based research firm Fitch warns cedi could suffer if global gold prices tumble amid US policy shift or geopolitical stability. Also ahead, Iran's parliament votes to shut down Strait of Hormuz, threatening global oil supply and sparking fears of soaring energy prices as $1 billion worth of daily shipments face blockade. Meanwhile, Ghana's second gas plant to save $1 billion annually. We'll hear from technical lead Alhaji Dr. Yusuf Suleimana. Thanks for your company. Now to the very first story. A sharp drop in global gold prices could erode Ghana's foreign reserves and force the cedi into renewed depreciation pressure. That's according to a new downside risk forecast by Fitch Solutions, which says this could derail Ghana's disinflation gains and delay interest rate cuts. The following 3 Business News Desk report has the details. Fitch Solutions is warning that Ghana's economic stability could face fresh headwinds if global gold prices take a sharp hit. The UK-based research firm says such a decline, possibly triggered by a shift to more traditional US trade policies or the resolution of key geopolitical tensions, would significantly weaken Ghana's international reserves. In such a scenario, the Bank of Ghana may struggle to keep the cedi stable, leading to a renewed sell-off. This would push inflation higher, dampen investor and consumer confidence, and force the central bank to maintain elevated interest rates for longer than expected. On the brighter side, Fitch says a further appreciation of the cedi, driven by strong gold prices, could accelerate the decline in inflation and open the door to interest rate cuts, boosting credit growth and private spending. The firm also notes that government consumption will contract in 2025 due to continued fiscal tightening under Ghana's IMF program. However, private consumption is expected to benefit from a stronger exchange rate and easing inflation, which could relieve pressure on household budgets in the months ahead. And that was a 3 Business News Desk report on UK-based research firm Fitch warning CD could suffer if global gold prices tumble amid US policy shift or geopolitical stability. Now, the Bank of Ghana is pushing for stronger regional collaboration to address rising cybersecurity threats across Africa's financial sector. At the 2025 Africa Financial Inclusion Policy Initiative meetings in Accra, First Deputy Governor Dr. Zachary Mumini urged member countries of the Alliance of Financial Inclusion to adopt coordinated measures such as a joint supervision, intelligence sharing, and harmonized regulatory frameworks. He noted that investing in shared early warning systems, incident reporting tools, and tailored oversight for fintechs and electronic money providers is crucial for building resilience in the continent's fast-growing digital finance space.
Cybersecurity threats do not respect borders. No country, however advanced, can confront them alone. That is why regional coordination through platforms like AFI are indispensable. Through peer learning, harmonized supervision, and shared intelligence, we are building a collective response that reflects our unique regional realities. We must continue to invest in common frameworks for early warning and incident reporting, scenario-based preparedness exercises, and proportionate regulation for fintechs and e-money providers. We also must have cooperative cross-border response mechanisms.
And that was First Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Zachary Mumuni. Moving on, technical lead for Ghana's second gas processing plant, GPP2, Alhaji Dr. Yusuf Suleimana, says the facility could save the country an average of $1 billion each year once it comes on stream. The government earlier today inaugurated the implementation committee for the construction of the GPP2, a major national infrastructure project aimed at boosting domestic energy supply, enhancing industrial output, and positioning Ghana as a regional gas processing hub.
The GPP2 project is expected to significantly expand Ghana's gas processing capacity beyond the current 120 million standard cubic feet per day processed at the Atuabo gas plant. With rising demand from the power and industrial sectors, the initiative is also projected to cut an estimated $151 million in annual losses linked to unprocessed natural gas liquids.
Sorry for that wrong insert. Now, the Tema Oil Refinery, TOR, says its total debt has surged to $517 million as of December 2024, driven largely by unresolved trade obligations, legacy crude oil arrears, and new accounting classifications under Ghana's ongoing IMF program. Acting Managing Director Edmond Kambacht, who disclosed the figure after an appearance before Parliament's Energy Committee, said the debt pile includes payments for crude oil supplies that were never settled, unfavorable trading contracts, and third-party liabilities. He explained that some government support previously considered as grants had now been reclassified as debt following financial reviews under the IMF deal, adding to the refinery's ballooning liabilities. Mr. Combat noted that management is currently verifying and reconciling the figures before issuing an official debt update to the public. Now, Iran's parliament has voted to close the Strait of Hormuz, the vital shipping channel through which around 20% of the world's daily oil flows. The move, which could block $1 billion in oil shipments per day, is likely to send oil prices soaring. This story will be followed up and subsequently brought to you in our bulletins. And that brings us to the end of Business Daily on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Ausa. For more business stories, please check out our website 3news.com. Thanks for your company.